Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland. Today, I'm fired up. For those of you watching can see, but those of you listening, you can't see this. I'm with Daniel Descalso. Daniel, what's up, man? How are you?
Brett, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's good to have you. I had to represent here on the chest, man. I had to wear the Cardinal logo today, and I'm getting ready. I'm like, all right, I got Daniel Descalso on. We're gonna represent the Cardinals today. And you're born and raised in California. You were the oldest of 6 kids. I'm going to ask you some stuff about that. I went to college at UC Davis. You were drafted in 2007 by our beloved St. Louis Cardinals and made your debut in 2010. And you guys won the World Series championship here in 2011. So, in my opinion, that was one of the greatest World Series ever. Game 6 obviously was crazy, and Game 7. So, but man, if you can, Daniel, tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in California and being the oldest of 6 kids.
Yeah, that World Series, like you said, in my opinion too, is one of the greatest World Series ever. Just the way we were down 3-2, coming back home. Had to win the next 2 games. We got a little bit of help with the rain out there, so we can bring Big Carp back on a little short rest. And if we just knew that if we won Game 6, we liked our chances in Game 7. And obviously that Game 6, goes down in history as one of the greatest World Series games of all time. With coming back a couple times down to our last strike. Obviously David Freese is the hometown hero. Couple huge at bats there. So it was fun last year to relive a lot of those moments, with it being the 10-year anniversary of that. And I think some of us watched a couple of the games all the way through, which I hadn't really done before. So it was fun to just see all the other stuff that went on in that game. We know that David hit the triple and the homer, but there's a lot of other little things that I think we forget about that contributed to that victory that night.
I think you had maybe a couple hits that night.
Yeah, I came off the bench. I think I was the last guy on the bench. I pinch hit, got a single, figured my night was done. But, Tony La Russa, being the strategist that he is, double switched me into the game. I don't think I'd played shortstop in like 2 months. So I went in at short, ended up getting another at bat later, get the rally started it. And then, so a couple hits off the bench that night.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. That was my 10th wedding anniversary that night, Game 6. So my wife and I, we were season ticket holders, and we took my dad and we took her dad. And I can say to this day, our parents in their 70s, I've never seen my dad or my father-in-law jump that high, man. And we had these 2 Texas fans right in front of us. They were a dentist from Texas. They flew up. They were going crazy. They thought it was over. And they didn't say too much after at the end of the day. So, and that was incredible, though. It was absolutely incredible. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But talk to us about what it was like, man, growing up. Obviously, you played baseball. You played some football, I believe. And being the oldest of 6, I've got 4 kids. It's crazy in my house. I can't imagine 6. But talk to us about your upbringing. What was that like?
Yeah, I guess you could say being the oldest of 6, it was like organized chaos in our house. There was, it was always loud. There was always a practice or a game to go to. My brothers and sisters and I, we played, you name it. We played basketball, soccer, baseball, obviously. We tried it all. My parents were really supportive. My dad tried to coach us, all equally as best he could, whether it was being the head coach of my Little League team or helping out with my sister's softball. They really encouraged us to participate in sports and do what made us happy. So like I said, oldest of 6, I tried to be as good as an example as I could. Growing up, didn't always do the right thing, but for the most part, I feel like I paved a pretty good path for the rest of them to follow. As the oldest, you're like the guinea pig. Your parents are figuring out parenting with you, so they try everything out on you, and then they're better prepared for the ones that follow. So it was always fun. There was always something going on. I have a lot of cousins on my mom's side too, so big family get-togethers for the holidays. So I was used to kind of that chaos. It was fun for us.
That's cool. That's really cool. Lots of fights, I'm assuming. You got a lot of brothers. I mean, how many brothers versus sisters?
So there's 3 boys, 3 girls. I'm the oldest, and then I have 2 sisters, and then my 2 brothers are 5 years younger than me and 8 years younger than me. So a lot of 2-on-1 like wrestling, but I had to take it easy because I was quite a few years older than them. So I couldn't just like pummel them. Otherwise they,
Right.
run to mom and dad. So I had to be like strategic and maybe let them get a few shots in before I put the finishing move on them.
Oh, that's cool, man. I love that. I love those stories. And as an only child, man, my house was, quiet as could be. And then yours was loud as could be, I'm sure. So,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man, there's lots of stuff to talk about, but so let's go back to that game 6, game 7, obviously. What was that like? I mean, I think I saw somewhere where David Freese even slept on his buddy's couch because he was superstitious or something going on there and all that stuff. But after game 6, how do you go home, try to get some sleep and be ready for game 7?
I think that Freese has gotten pretty famous. I think he was crashing on his buddy's couch for most of the playoffs. And obviously he had been swinging the bat really well, and we've been playing well. So why mix it up? But yeah, you're so hyped after game 6, a huge comeback. How do you wind down and try to get some rest for the next day? Because now the next day is the last game of the season, no matter what. Someone's got to win. Someone's going to be the champ. Someone's going to go home as the runner up. So you just try to do your best and get some rest. And even if you can't, I think you find some adrenaline the next day. It's game 7 of the World Series. If you can't get up for that, then you got no business being in the ballpark that day anyway.
That's right. Just like us fans, we had a late night that Thursday night, and I had a golf tournament that Friday morning, had to cut out early, get back to game 7, man. I could talk about this for days and days, but, so again, I'm going to jump around here a little bit, but talk to us about maybe did you know you were different? Like, when did you know that, man, this is like, I got a real shot at something special here? Was there that moment for you?
So I think there was like little moments along the way that kind of signaled to me that I had some good ability, and if I kept working, things I could probably play baseball for a long time. As like a little leaguer, I was always the best player on the team. But I grew up in like not a huge town. There's like 30,000-40,000 people here, but I was the best player on our little league team all the way coming up and on the all-star team too. And then you kind of get to high school, and I went to a little bit bigger high school, a good reputation for athletics and baseball especially. And, make varsity as a sophomore, play a lot, started to establish myself as one of the better players on the team. By the time my senior year, I'm the MVP of the league. So another signal like, okay, this is going well so far. Yeah. Didn't get drafted out of high school though. Was not a guy that would, pop up on a scout's radar or really like jump off the page or jump out of the game if you watch me one time or if you watch me take batting practice. But I think if you watched me over and over again, you would see that I put together good at-bats, played good defense, had a good knowledge for the game. So I didn't have a lot of scholarship offers either, but I had an offer to go play at UC Davis. Well, at that time, it was a Division II school, but they were transitioning to Division I, moving to the Big West, which has powerhouses like Long Beach State, Cal State Fullerton, a lot of good baseball schools. So accepted that offer and thought I had a good chance to play as a freshman, be exposed to some good competition, and figured that would be a good way to test myself. Kept having success. And then all of a sudden, my junior year, scouts start showing up at practice, showing up at games. I'm getting phone calls. So that was when I was like, okay, I got a chance to do this for a living. All I need to do is, I just need to keep playing well, get drafted, and then the rest is like, it's up to me. Once you get that shot, like now it's on you. It's your career. But I just wanted to get an opportunity to get to that next level and then take it from there.
What was your mindset like during all that? So let's say now you get drafted. You're there. You were drafted in 2007, made your debut, I believe, in September of 2010. Well, I mean, what was that mindset like, knowing there's 1,000 guys trying to go where you're trying to go, right? And so what was your pregame or kind of your morning routine, things like that?
So I think, getting drafted, I didn't really know a whole lot about the professional baseball experience, especially the minor league experience. I didn't have a lot of friends that had, done that. So I was kind of, flying blind and didn't really know what to expect. And I got out to small town Batavia, New York, in the New York Penn League for rookie ball. My manager was great, but he was a guy, like a type of personality I'd never played for or been around before, very loud in your face. But it was great. I learned a lot. Learned about developing a routine, like show up to the ballpark. Not so superstitious that if my routine got thrown off, I couldn't perform, but I'd get there, maybe get my workout in, go to the cage early, get some swings in. If I'm working on something, really work on that, get out to the field, maybe early work for defense, get my ground ball since I played a couple different spots. I'd take some at second, take some at third. And then after that, just get prepared for the game, go over the scouting report. If I face the guy, maybe watch some at bats on video. But I think like as a general mindset getting drafted, once I kind of got comfortable with baseball being my career and being my livelihood and my job, I think I really set a goal as like, okay, let's try to keep moving. Let's move up a level every year. I get drafted 2007. At the end of that year, I got moved up to low A team for the playoffs. The next year I skipped low A, go to high A, get moved up to double A at the end. So I wanted to try to keep moving forward and not tell myself like, all right, we have to get to the big leagues this year. If I'm in high A, let's make the goal. Let's get to double A this year. Yeah. Just try to have some attainable goals, and just keep moving forward.
I love that because, we talk about this on the Circuit of Success podcast all the time. Is obviously a lot of business people listen, but there's so much correlation between sports and business, right? And so I love that you say that was just one step at a time. And I think so many of us are guilty of, I'm here and I want to go from A to Z, right, tomorrow. I know I've been guilty of that, especially in my younger days, but I think it's true, man. It's great wisdom from you to say one step at a time. But you had your goals, you knew what you were doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the end game was the big league. That's like the long-term goal, but yeah. I had to set, little goals along the way, little benchmarks, things that I felt like I had to do and get good at in order to get to that level where I want to be and to stay there and be successful when I did get there. So I was in the minor leagues for just over 3 years, which is, relatively quick, but it's not like I flew through the system. And I think, especially for the Cardinals, you were expected when you got to the big leagues and you were playing for Tony La Russa, you were expected to know how to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And if you weren't able to do that, you would find yourself back down in AAA or AA or wherever you came from.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the hardest thing about you got to the majors, but then you had a great 10-year career. So then what was the hardest thing about staying in the majors?
Yeah. Not that getting there is easy, but staying is harder. So I think you have to be adaptable. I mean, I think as a baseball player and a baseball fan, the game has changed a lot over the last 10 or 15 years. The incorporation of analytics, shifting, what general managers and talent evaluators are looking for. So I think just not being stubborn, knowing what you're good at and knowing what got you there, but also being willing, being able to adapt and being willing to be like coachable, take some feedback. And I think I had to do that. I had to make changes to my approach, to my mechanics in order to stay around and stay relevant and stay as a contributor. Like I said, the game has changed a lot, and there's so much information out there, and it's easy to get bogged down by the overload of information. Yep. So I think you have to do a good job of kind of filtering out what's good for you as an individual, but also being coachable and taking that feedback from whether it's the analytics department or coaches, and then using that to better your individual game.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Being coachable, it's a big deal, because whether you're a child and your parent, right, be coachable from your parents, or be coachable at work, you can't replace that mindset, man, because it's, if you think you got it all figured out, you're not going to go anywhere and have a 10-year career in the bigs, are you?
Yeah, especially in baseball, the moment you think you have everything like figured out, that's when you get, something happens, you go into a slump, and then you can't figure out how to get it back. Like, the game will humble you very quickly. I mean, I would never say that I thought I had it all figured out, but there were some times where I'm like, okay, I'm going pretty good right now. Let's ride this wave for a while. And then all of a sudden you hit a couple of line drives right at somebody, and then you're like an 0 for 15 slump. You're like, man, last week I was feeling great. What happened? Yeah. Yeah. I was on top of the world. Now I feel like I'm never going to get another base hit in the rest of my life. That switch you talked about, that thing, man, as a baseball fan, I wasn't ever obviously a player at your level, so I don't understand it as well as you guys do. But what do you think of the switch? I personally can't stand it. I think that we saw some teams have some success going into the analytics, and I think analytics are great. I think there's a huge place for them in the game. I think we may have swung too far in the direction of relying on analytics. I think we're analytic heavy right now. I really think it's going to come back a little bit. I think there's going to be a premium put on, guys that can make contact, pitchers that don't walk guys. I think there might be a premium put on, coaches that have played the game, front office guys that have played the game, and just melding that information together. I unquote school. I know that the product that's on the field right now is not as entertaining for fans.
Yeah.
But I see how we got there. Guys get paid by hitting homers and striking guys out. So of course players are going to try to do that because they see player X, Y, or Z got paid because they hit 40 homers last year. They might only hit 220 and struck out 150 times, right, but he ran into 40 baseballs and hit him over the fence and he got paid for it. So why am I not supposed to do that if I see that's how guys are making money? So it's just a hard cycle to break out of.
Well, that's true. I mean, I guess from a player standpoint, fans get so emotional, but the players, it's a business for you, right? I mean, that's your business. It's your livelihood. No different than my business is my livelihood, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're lucky to play a game, but we treat that game as our job. And like, we work on our craft. Like, people see the product on the field. They don't see the off season, 5-6 days a week training, hitting, early work in the cage every day before the game. Like, guys are so good, but hitters are so good, but pitchers are so good too. Like, you see a lot of strikeouts. There's guys that are, I mean, everyone throws 95, 96 now. That's like no big deal. With nasty breaking balls. Like, I think hitting right now is as hard as it's ever been, but you still see guys going out, putting up, crazy numbers. So, it's just strikeouts. The pitching is so good, and strikeouts are up. But I think you're going to see a cycle back. Hitters are going to work on making more contact, just as we saw hitters work on driving balls out of the park more. It's going to come in cycles. Like, I think when I first came up, everyone threw a split finger fastball. Now everyone has like a cutter. Everyone throws the high fastball. It's just these cycles that it kind of goes to like 4 or 5 years, and then guys figure out how to combat it, and then they have to make an adjustment again.
Yeah. The cutter will be back. And back to the business side too. I mean, again, as fans, you ended your career with Cubs. I mean, come on, man. How do you put on the pinstripes, the blue pinstripes, right? But again, it's a business, right? But is it still hard when you were a Cardinal and that atmosphere at Busch Stadium and you're playing the Cubs now they're going to put a check in your bank account. So it's probably a little easier, but when you got to walk into Wrigley Field,
I always loved going to Wrigley Field. So
everybody says that, Dan.
Yeah, I know.
Man.
To be able to play on the home side was special. I mean, obviously I had been there as a visitor with the Cardinals. And when I was with the Cardinals, we dominated that rivalry. It wasn't much of a rivalry. The Cubs were, struggling. So it was like, half or maybe even more than half Cardinals fans. So it almost felt like a home game with that Wrigley Field atmosphere. But, when the Cubs, made that offer to me, I had heard great things about playing for them, not only on the field stuff, but just the way that they took care of their players off the field, the clubhouse and stuff they had put in there. But it was a little weird, especially the first time going to St. Louis as with a Cubs uniform on, or first time playing the Cardinals in Wrigley with a Cub uniform on, like I was used to being on the other side. So it was fun. There wasn't a lot of guys left on that Cardinals team from when I played, but there was still Yachty was there, Wayno was there, Matt Carpenter. Good to see those guys from the other side, but it was fun.
So let's talk about some of those guys you just mentioned. I'm gonna name some guys and tell me what they mean to you, either on the field or off the field. But let's start with Wayno, man. What was that guy like?
I mean, just like Mr. Consistency. Watching him take the ball every 5 days, you knew you're going to get a chance to win. A guy that just wanted the ball in a big spot. Goofy, funny guy on the 4 days he wasn't pitching. I'm sure people have seen him dancing around in the dugout and like big smile on his face. But on that 5th day, when it was his turn to pitch, he came to the clubhouse. He was all business, scowl on his face. So then when I got to face him as the opposition when I played with the Rockies, I think if you don't know him, he's a big, tall guy with that scowl on the mound. He can be intimidating. But the guy that I could think of out there was the goofy, like fun-loving guy. So he lost his intimidation edge when I was in the box, because I know that he's like just the nicest guy.
Yeah, that's good. That does help, I guess, doesn't it? When you're in the box, his personality more than you know him as a baseball player. But
exactly,
he hits the crap out of the golf ball. Have you played golf with him? Can you outdrive him? I know you're a golfer.
I haven't had the privilege of playing him, but I know he's pretty good. I didn't play a lot when I was with the Cardinals. I thought it was going to mess up my baseball swing, and so I didn't do it. But then I saw I was missing out on a lot of fun off-day activities. So I think 2015, I picked up a set of golf clubs, and I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah, see, guys like you kind of make me mad. I've been playing golf since I was 6, and then you're just like, oh, I just picked up a set of golf clubs now, and I see on your Instagram you're winning some tournaments and crap. Like, so what's your handicap now?
I'm playing like a 4.5 right now.
Yeah, see, that's just not right, man. This guy's been playing their whole life and can't get to that.
But I've had a lot of free time, so I've been taking lessons. I get out to the range whenever I can. So like, I really, when I say I have the golf bug, I really have the golf bug. Like it's bad. My wife hates it, but I love getting out there to play whenever I can. So when the kids down for a nap, I'm like, I'm gonna sneak out to the range and get the balls for like an hour. So I'll be back.
I'll be back. I promise. I'm not going to play 18 holes and be gone for 7 hours.
But sometimes
I'd be curious. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, sometimes when I do go to the club and the course is wide open, when I say I'm going to the range, I'll just pop on and see if I can get like 6 or 7 holes in before my time's up.
That's right. I think I'd be curious about this, since you played a professional sport. Obviously, I believe I'm a golfer and dabbled in golf a little bit in college and all that stuff, and so play a ton still. But I think it's the hardest sport there is. And you can either tell me why I'm wrong or agree with that. But do you believe that?
That golf is the hardest sport?
Yeah.
I think golf is, if not the hardest, it's got to be top 3.
Yeah.
It just, I think it doesn't seem hard. I mean, logically, it's not hard. The ball's sitting still.
Right.
You have to hit it to this, big patch of grass and put it in the hole, right? Easy, very easy concept. But so many variables, and there's no one else to blame but yourself when stuff goes wrong. As much as we'd like to blame like the lie or the wind or whatever, it's on you. And there's so much trouble you can get yourself into, and then it's on you to get out of it. I just think it's in the mental struggle of, all right, if I hit a bad shot, I have to, like, my next shot is now my most important. I have to forget about the last one.
That's right.
Very similar to baseball, where have a bad at bat or make a bad play. Like now I still have another play to make or another at bat to have. So I think I really try to do a good job of, on the golf course, forget about the last shot. Next shot is the most important one.
Yeah. I've heard that from a lot of baseball players too, that short-term memory is key in baseball, but it's key in really anything in life, right? But you got to have that short-term memory.
Yeah. And you can't be like, you watch the guys on tour. I mean, that's what makes them so good. Yeah. They smash the golf ball and they make putts, but like when those guys get in trouble, the way that they save par, get out of trouble, all the shots that they have, like it's unbelievable. Where me, if I hit that ball there, I'm looking at double bogey.
Yeah,
these guys are making par. So I've really gotten to enjoy watching golf and just watching how like methodical those guys are and watch them at their craft. I have an appreciation for how hard the game is and how easy they make it seem at times.
That's right. So that was Wayno that spun into golf there. But talk about Yachty. I mean, how important is that guy in your clubhouse?
I mean, I think Yachty is just the stabilizer. He's the rock of that franchise and has been for a long time. Whether he's feeling 100% physically, whether he's 50%, he's gonna go out there and give you everything he has. You have to pry that guy off the field. I know they say this is his last year, but it wouldn't surprise me if he keeps playing, longer than he says. I just think he is a winner, and he's a competitor. He hates to lose. And I just think having him as a stabilizer for the pitching staff, if you're a young pitcher and you get called up what a luxury it is to have Yachty behind the plate to kind of guide you through your first time in the big leagues, and just kind of being able to trust him, knowing that he's done his homework on the players, probably, have seen these guys and scouted them a lot of times before, that just knowing that you could roll with him and he's going to have a great game plan for you. Yeah. So always a pleasure, like sharing a field with him, playing with him, just watching him compete. Like I said, he hates to lose. So he's like the warrior of the game back there. Like, you got to pry him off the field.
And did you see anything different? Like, was there that one thing or that magic, sauce that either like a Wayno or a Pujols or Yachty? I mean, you played with some of the greatest players ever, man. And was there anything different about them that you saw that, man, these other guys don't have that? Not to call those guys out, but just, was there anything different?
I think the thing that stands out is like mentality. You mentioned Albert. When Albert showed up to the ballpark, I mean, he was on a mission, and his mission was to be the best player in the game. Like, he had his routine and he was focused, and nothing was getting in his way of getting his stuff done and going out there and hammering baseballs that night. I was a rookie, and at that point, Albert had been the best player in the game for like 10 years. And he didn't have time for a lot of other BS. When that guy got to the park, like, he wasn't there chit-chatting with us, like, grabbing a car. That guy was going to work. And I think Yachty is the same thing. Like, those guys have been doing it so well for so long, and they know what they have to do. Like, once they got to the ballpark, their mission was to win and to be great. And so just watching those guys from afar, like watching Yachty go over a scouting report, watching all the other hitters, like, all right, that's what I have to do when I'm scouting like other pitchers. I need to put in that type of work. Just setting an example. Like, Yachty may not be the most vocal leader, but that guy leads by example as good as I've seen.
Yeah, that's crazy. So we'll talk about my friend Kyle McClellan. I sit on his board, Brace for Impact, and I was watching a video last night, and you had a big hit. I think it was in the 2012 NLDS or something like that. I see McClellan, the camera goes over. He's going crazy for you, man. What was it like playing with Kyle?
Oh, Mac was great. So he was like our player rep for the union when we all got called up. So
that doesn't surprise me.
He told us all the stuff about, like, when they, you should elect this on your, beneficiary stuff. And he gave us the blueprint. He's like, he had his elaborate, like, 10-year plan. Well, this is what I'm going to do with my money, and I'm going to invest this. I'm like, McClellan, just tell us what we need to do. Like, we don't want to hear your spiel. Just leave us alone.
Yeah. This is what box do I check and why and where.
Yeah. So he's, but I know he's done a great stuff with the Brace for Impact post career, and he's, it was good getting to catch up with him a little bit at the reunion this past September.
Yeah, they're absolutely crushing it, man. Him and his wife, Bridget, they do an amazing job. It's fun to watch all the stuff they're doing in North St. Louis here and down in Haiti. And it's amazing. So what did you learn about culture that, again, a lot of business people listening to this, culture is huge at work, and it's huge in the at the baseball field. So what did you learn about culture?
I'm glad you brought that up. Like you said, culture is huge. And how do you build culture? How do you maintain culture? I think business, sports are trying to figure out that formula, right? Is it organic? Do you have to work at it? And, I think on that 2011 team, which, for example, I know that the 2010 team wasn't as successful. They went out and they brought in some free agents, guys by the name of Gerald Laird, Ryan Terrio, and Nick Punto, guys that had been around, the guys that had some bigger personalities than I think had been in the clubhouse the year before, but not so big that it was a distraction, if that makes sense. So they kind of kept it light, but professional and focused at the same time. And then you have this quote unquote Cardinal way, right? Everyone talks about the Cardinal way and how do we buy into it? And I think that starts at the minor league level, where they have this system in place and they talk about, when you get to the big leagues, this is what you're expected to do. And we learned that down here by winning games at the minor league level. And because to win baseball games at any level, certain things have to happen. And if you've never done them in the minors, how can you expect to do them in the big leagues? It doesn't compute. So I think that alignment, that same message from the organization at the big league level all the way down to the lowest level of the minor leagues. I like that term alignment. It means everyone's like, we're all on the same page. The message is consistent, You're not hearing different things from different coaches, or once you get up to the next level, you're not hearing something totally different than what you had at the previous level. And then getting up to the big leagues at that time, if you didn't buy into what the other guys were doing or the direction that everyone else was pulling in, they would get rid of you. And it didn't really matter how good you were. You know, if you weren't falling in line and everyone pulling those 25 guys in the same direction, you were going to find yourself on the outside looking in. And we saw some guys get traded away that probably could have helped us. But either the coaching staff or the front office saw something that, you know, to align with that message and that call, it would be a distraction instead of a help for us.
Yeah. That's key. That's huge. So what did you do? You talked about earlier when maybe you went, over 15 or something like that. And so again, compare it to the boardroom, right? We can be in struggles at work. How did you push through those struggles to then come back out on top?
Yeah. I think from a hitter's perspective, you're struggling at the plate. The first thing you want to go do is look, is my swing messed up? Are my mechanics off? So before I would look at that, I would kind of look at, all right, what pitches am I swinging at? Am I swinging at good pitches? First and foremost, am I chasing bad pitches early in the count? Now I'm getting behind in the count, and now the pitcher can do whatever he wants. So I get to relate that back to business. Are we, from a business perspective, are we trying to do the wrong things? Are we missing? From an approach standpoint, are we swinging and missing because we're outside of our expertise level and we're trying to do things that maybe we're not as prepared for? And then kind of rein that back, and maybe we need to refocus and do things that we know we're good at. So I would start there and focus on what I'm swinging at. Then maybe from there, I would just go back to my routine and hammer my routine, and just kind of refocus on what I do well, what gets me locked in the cage, and just trust that process that got me there, instead of trying to overhaul and make a change because I had a bad week. So just kind of recentering and refocusing on the things that I do well and my routine at the field. And then just, instead of going into the batter's box trying to do something totally different, I'm confident in my ability and my approach and all the work that I've put in and my plan, that I know if I keep doing the same thing, I've had success before, that success is going to come back.
Yeah. And I hear in that as a passion for the process, right? Whether you're chasing the wrong client, the wrong lead, or whatever, but it's trust the process and know what got you there can keep you there, but you gotta commit to it.
Yeah. As corny as it sounds. And I think, the Philadelphia 76ers have kind of killed the phrase trust the process.
Yeah.
But you really have to. It's, especially in a results oriented profession like baseball or business, yes, you have to perform. You have to have results to stick around or to be successful. But the way we get those results and how we build to those results is the most important part. If you're doing it the wrong way, yeah, you might get away with it for a little bit, but in the long run, if you don't have that process, it's gonna bite you.
Yeah, and I love that too. You brought up the scoreboard stuff, because it's so true. I talk about all the time. Imagine if my office had the jumbotron in it, right? Did you make that call, or did you do this? I mean, everything you guys did, man. Here's your stats. Here's his last 10 games. Here's his home runs. Here's his strikeouts. Here's his hits. Here's his batting average. Here's air. I mean, whatever, man. It's there, right? It's on the line. And that's got to be mentally tough, I would think.
Yeah, you can't hide from it. You have to just embrace it. For the casual fan, say I could hit 4 balls hard one night, 4 line drives right at the center fielder. I did everything that I wanted to do in my at bat. I did everything perfect. I just hit the ball right at the fielder, out of my control. Fan looks at the box score, 0 for 4. Oh man, this guy stinks, right? Terrible. 0 for 4 again. So you could be doing everything right. The process, execution, everything can be going right. No results. How do you continue to do that when you're not getting the results? Well, I know I did everything right. It's just very hard. You have to trick yourself into saying all I can control is what I swing at and how hard I hit it. Once it leaves my bat, it's out of my hands. I can't be trying to aim the baseball for the most part all around the field. I just have to go up there and get a good pitch and hit it hard, and that's my job. And if I keep doing that, I have to know that the results will be there.
That's right. What do I do now if I follow you around? I follow with a camera Daniel Descalso around every day, besides the hour where you sneak out to go hit some golf balls. But what are you doing today? And what's your mindset and what are you working on?
Okay, so this morning, I had my two older kids. They're 5 and 3, so I had them up. We got breakfast, drop them off at school, right? Drop one off at kindergarten, the other one off at preschool. I got a golf lesson this afternoon at 2. But the last couple of days, I had so I'm back in school, finishing up my economics degree at UC Davis.
Oh, cool.
So I had class all day Tuesday. Well, I had like 3 hours of class Tuesday, and then a couple of small discussions afterwards. And then Thursday, the same thing. And I'm also helping. So Wednesday, I was out there at practice for like an hour and a half. Same thing yesterday. They have a new coaching staff. I'm just trying to be as helpful as I can. I told them I can't be there every day, with the young kids and other stuff going on. But I told them I'd give them a couple days a week at minimum. Help watch guys swings, help them out, talk about situations I've been in. Impart any wisdom that I can. And so that's been fun too, just to have an impact on some of those, on the 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids. And if I can help them get a little better every day, then that would be great.
Talk to us about you and your boy, John Jay, another fellow Cardinal that went to the Cubs, but we won't keep bringing that up. I apologize. But John Jay, you guys got a couple things cooking, man. What are you guys doing?
Yeah. So Jay and I have been, friends since we met each other in like spring training in the minor leagues. We've become really close. Our families are friends. We've gone to Europe with them. We've gone to Hawaii with them. It's, lifelong friendships. But, Jay's more of like the networker type. He's the one who's like meeting everybody, getting their info, staying in contact. He's really good at that. So a couple of people have approached us over the years, getting involved in some projects outside of baseball. And so one is this small batch eyewear company called Tomahawk Shades out of New York. Athletic shades, casual shades, fashion shades. We just launched our first ski and snowboard goggle today. So check out tomahawkshades.com. They're pretty cool. So we're hoping to get those to get some players when they're popping champagne in the postseason.
Yeah.
Some Tomahawk goggles to protect the eyes from the bubbly. We're also involved in a startup tequila company out of Southern California. Just getting going right now. We're on our second batch of production in lots of little bars, lounges, liquor stores in the Southern California area, mainly Venice Beach, Santa Monica. Just trying to build that brand down there before we expand in some other markets. So awesome. Just kind of some fun stuff that some relationships, some networking that has opened up some opportunities for us, and just felt like right time to get in there.
Awesome, man. Well, that's good, man. I love hearing that kind of stuff. Last few questions for you is, so our firm's mission is helping people achieve a future greater than their past. So when you think about that, your past, right? You've had a good past. Sounds like you had a good upbringing. Obviously played 10 years in the bigs. You won a World Series. That's good. So when I say that, I don't mean the future is better because your past was bad. But when you think about where you're at now, what does it mean to live a future greater than your past?
Well, so I think that for me, it's just kind of building on what I've already done as a baseball player. Playing in the big leagues was great. Obviously, you cannot play in the big leagues forever. There has to be something. Well, hopefully, there's something else after that is passionate, the passion of the individual. So, I was fortunate enough to have a lot of great coaches, a lot of great mentors along the way. I would love to get back into that side of the game. I'm eager to learn how the front office side works, the coaching side works. I feel like I don't have all the answers, but I feel like I have a good, wealth of knowledge, and I like to work. So if there's somebody that wants to work at something, I would love to help them get to where they're going. I want to help kids maybe at the minor league level get to the big leagues and then stay at the big league level. And managing it is something that interests me. I don't know if I would necessarily want to do it, but it's definitely something that sparks my interest. But I really would like to give back some of the knowledge and the skills and the experiences that I had. I would like to pass those down from a coaching perspective, whether it's on the field or in like a player development type of situation. Not quite sure yet. Haven't got there. Not ready to dive in fully, but I definitely think that that's a passion of mine and something that I could be good at.
Yeah. So again, on the business side, it sounds like clarity is key, because if we're clear about where we're going, there's a much better likelihood you're going to get there. So how many of the fears did you ever put in your mind? You know, how many of them actually blew up to the magnitude you put them in your mind to be?
I guess like my greatest fear was always, is this the year I come back to spring training and I can't hit anymore? You know, and I would just have that thought would just flash like, and usually I was able to get that out of my head relatively quickly. And I always felt like I did a good job of, you know, not making things get, you know, spiral. I think there was you mentioned that 2012 division series where I got a big hit. I mean, we were down to our last out. We lose, we go home. And I vividly remember walking to the plate and telling myself, well, the worst thing that can happen is you make an out. You've done that 1,000 times, probably more than that. You know, the game will be over, but nothing bad is going to happen. You're not going to die. You know, your career is not going to be over. The worst thing that can happen is you make an out. So go up there, get a good pitch, put a good swing on it. We'll see what happens. And I think over the course of my career, whether it was an at bat or facing an uphill battle, making a team or trying to make an adjustment, I think I tried to not let the moment become too big and overwhelming, and just kind of simplify it. Easier said than done, but you know, take a deep breath and like recenter and refocus and say like, okay, the worst thing that can happen in this situation is I get out, or the worst thing that can happen here is I make an error or you know, miss a ground ball. That's it. Like we might lose, and we might lose, and that sucks. But the great part about baseball is I'm probably going to have another chance tomorrow or later in this game. You know, nobody's dying. My leg's not going to fall off. I'm going to be okay. You know, so just I felt like I had a good thought process in that respect, where yes, it might seem like a big moment, and it is a big moment, but it's not life or death.
Yeah. It's great perspective, man. Really good perspective. So I was going to say bourbon or wine, but now I know you get this tequila company. So do you ever sit on the back porch or wherever with a glass of tequila and think, and kind of pinch yourself and say, man, I just lived a boyhood dream and won a World Series. You ever do that?
Oh yeah. I don't think when you're playing and you're in the middle of it, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to reflect back that far, or you know, you're trying to live in the moment and you know, be successful and continue your career. There was a couple times, you know, when I went to the Diamondbacks, we made the playoffs, and I hadn't been to the playoffs in a couple of years, so I actually went and watched some of those old Cardinal playoff games. They're all on YouTube. So that was a cool time where I was trying to prepare for that playoff game, but it was able to reflect a little bit as well. But just the reunion was great this year. We were able to like tell stories and get all those guys together. We hadn't been in the same room since the parade after that World Series. So that was a great way to like reflect as a group, and just for me, to kind of pinch myself almost and be like, you know, I was in the backyard as a kid playing wiffle ball, and my dad would say, all right, you know, it's bottom of the ninth, World Series, you know, bases loaded. And I was basically in that spot. You know, you play make-believe growing up, and then it really happened. So it's cool. It's special. I could use so many superlatives to describe it. But it's just great.
That's awesome, man. Well, it's been awesome having you, Daniel. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Circuit of Success, man. I enjoyed watching you and your career, and was excited when we got to connect, and that you decided to choose your time and come on the Circuit of Success, man. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for having me. You know, I saw the lineup of all the other guests you've had, and I was, you know, I was a little intimidated. You've had some impressive people on there, so I'm glad you decided to include me.
Absolutely, man. I've been lucky. Let's say, you know, it's one thing I've learned in business: if you don't ask, you're not going to get it, right? So, just to your point, right? Not to go into this, but hey, I strike out.
What's the worst they could say?
What's the worst Daniel Descalso says? Doesn't respond, which there's been 1,000 of those, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, or says buzz off. I'm not interested, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
But you find the next guest, right?
That's right. We'll find the next one. Maybe we'll get John Jay on here next, and we'll have some fun with him.
He'd be a good one.
He's one of the 1,000 that hasn't responded.
I'll give him a nudge.
All right, man. It's been awesome having you.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Brett.